Across 100 systems, they gathered. Scientists, warlords, biologists, and diplomats, all drawn to the apex predator tournament, where the galaxies flaunted the deadliest creatures their worlds had birthed. Not warriors. Not machines. Nature's raw, unfiltered violence, displayed like trophies. From the molten worlds of Kavrax came the slag lizard, whose bite could melt steel. From the ice moons of Trell, the void owl, capable of hunting through echolocated silence. The air in the council chamber hung thick with tension and awe as each delegation took the stage to display their evolutionary nightmares. This wasn't just competition. It was power politics. Prestige. Warning. A chance to remind the galaxy what nature's wrath looked like when left to sharpen itself without interference. Apex meant more than predator. Apex meant dominance. Each new presentation sent murmurs rippling through the gathered species. One species showed a creature that hunted via vibration across stone. Another revealed a transparent gelatinous horror that dissolved prey from within. The murmurs grew, but so did the smirks, because the humans hadn't presented yet. They stood near the back. Quiet. Observing. The human delegation didn't bristle under the derision, they expected it. Fragile. Soft-skinned. Oxygen addicts from a statistically average biosphere. The murmurs turned into open jokes. Perhaps they'll show us a domesticated fur creature. One insectoid delegate clicked, loud enough to draw laughter from nearby species. Another added, maybe the mighty pigeon, renowned scourge of park benches. The host turned toward them with a grin that didn't reach its multifaceted eyes. Terrence, you are the final entry. Impress us. The human representative stepped forward. No flourish. No theatrics. Just a data crystal in hand and a voice as flat as vacuum. We bring the shark. Silence. Then uproarious laughter. The kind that echoed off chamber walls and sent translators scrambling to filter ridicule into digestible tones. The words sounded awkward in alien tongues, rough on the ear, small. Shark. What was that? An aquatic nuisance? An undersea scavenger? The idea of a water-dwelling predator struck them as quaint. The laughter died only when the first statistics hit the chamber's displays. 1,000 kilos of muscle. Bone-crushing bite force. Electrosensory perception that could detect a heartbeat through a clouded sea. Multiple rows of regenerating teeth. A predator older than most species in the room. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't stop. It drowns if it rests. It hunts continuously, moved only by hunger, instinct, and blood. The laughter didn't resume. They don't live in packs, the human said. But they don't need to. Solitary, silent, and lethal. Built by pressure, perfected by time, unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. And a Vaxi noble coughed through their spiracles. A fish. You bring a fish to a predator showcase? The human replied without inflection. A fish that will circle its prey for hours, waiting. Watching. Planning. A predator with no need for territory, no desire for conquest. It simply hunts because that is what it was made to do. The data feeds continued. Video footage accompanied telemetry. One shot, a gray shadow slicing through kelp, accelerating from stillness to attack speed in seconds. Another, an overhead shot of a beach, where surfers swam unknowingly meters from apexes whose instincts flickered but did not act. They sense electricity, the human added. The beating of a heart, the firing of nerves. They will follow a wounded creature for kilometers, and they do not give up. The Deathworlder representative, silent until now, shifted slightly in their seat. Still, others persisted in mockery. What kind of predator announces itself with a fin? Said a scaled diplomat with fangs that curved inward. The human's reply came cold. Not all do. With a gesture, the feed changed again. The mako. The bull shark. The hammerhead pack, a rare, coordinated kill. The room quieted. Skepticism began to fracture into unease. And you swim with these things? Came another voice, sharp and incredulous. The human nodded. Sometimes in cages. Sometimes not. And people survive this? Usually. We study them. Sometimes we tag them. Other times we simply get close enough to understand how not to die. A news still flashed across the chamber. A researcher swimming beside a 10-foot great white, no cage, no protection. The shark swam slowly. The human, slower. You provoke them? No. We respect them. But when they come too close, we punch them. In the nose. The chamber fell utterly silent. Punch them? In the nose? The Deathworlder echoed. The tone wasn't disbelief. It was something colder. Recognition. A predator knew another when it saw one. The insectoid host leaned forward. You coexist with these creatures? The human shrugged. They live in every ocean on Earth. We fish near them. We surf above them. We dive into their world for sport. And you survive? We learned how. The room buzzed with whispered translations. Species that had never seen an ocean were calculating what such predators might mean in planetary conquest terms. The biological impossibility of peaceful coexistence with a creature that kills without warning or sound didn't add up, until they considered the humans themselves. We feared fire, the human said. Then we tamed it. We feared the shark. So we studied it, hunted it, even named it. The last frame of the feed froze on a shot, a human child standing before a massive aquarium glass, a great white drifting just beyond reach. And the child is laughing. No one else was. You laugh because you think you understand danger. Because your predators spit acid, cloak in shadow, or pierce hull plating. You assume violence must be loud, or bright, or massive. Sharks are none of those things. They don't roar. They don't glow. They don't need to. They hunt in silence, and they never stop. Their blood must flow, their muscles must move. If they rest, they suffocate. So they move. Always. You think that makes them weak. It doesn't. It makes them relentless. The great white is not Earth's largest predator. It's not the fastest. It doesn't need to be. It operates on a principle older than your empire's: efficiency. Every movement, every attack, every angle of its body serves one purpose: to kill. It does not bite to wound. It bites to remove limbs. It does not chase prey. It stalks it. Waits until the precise moment when resistance becomes irrelevant. Then it strikes from below, at speed. It hits with a force sufficient to lift half a ton of flesh and bone from the water. And then it waits again. Watches the blood. Watches the panic. Smells the weakness. You want horror? Listen to this: they replace their teeth for every kill. A never-ending conveyor belt of razors, rotating through their jaws. They don't have a set of teeth, they have a system. The ocean's natural autopsy tool, ready for constant use. You talk of vision. These creatures see in low light, in turbulent current, in bleeding ink. But that's not what makes them terrifying. They feel electricity. Every muscle twitch, every nerve pulse, every dying heartbeat in a fish, or seal, or swimmer, they detect it, from dozens of meters away. Imagine being found by your heartbeat. Now understand this: we've tried to contain them. We built cages, sonar buoys, deterrents. They adapted. We tagged them, tracked them. Some disappeared for months, then reappeared halfway across the globe. No signs of stress. No change in behavior. Just a slow, precise continuation of their ancient patterns. They are not chaotic. They are not bloodthirsty. They are perfect. Other predators compete. Fight for territory. Fight for mates. Sharks don't need to. They exist at the top without trying. They do not declare dominance. They embody it. And they are not alone. There are over 500 known species. Each one adapted to a different part of our oceans. Cold. Warm. Shallow. Deep. Open sea. Swamps. River mouths. Some live where fresh water meets salt. Some swim upriver, far from any ocean. The bull shark is one of the most aggressive. It doesn't care where you hide. It's been found thousands of kilometers inland, hunting in murky estuaries. Its attack pattern? Simple. Blitz, bite, return. It doesn't need a second strike. It expects the first to finish the job. Then there are the hammerheads. Strange, unnatural symmetry. You would think that makes them awkward. It doesn't. It makes them coordinated. They hunt in formations. Packs. With strategy. One flanks. One herds. One kills. They have favorites, stingrays. They pin them down and eat them alive. Yes. Alive. And makos? Fastest sharks in the world. A projectile made of hunger and teeth. You don't see it before it hits. You barely understand what hit you afterward. Survivors rarely describe it. If they're lucky, they lose limbs. If not, they vanish below the surface and don't come up again. Still think this is a joke? Some of you brought creatures that spit neurotoxins. Others displayed brute strength or camouflage. But your predators hunt in ecosystems with few threats. Sharks evolved on Earth, a place where death comes from above, below, and sideways. Where even plants can kill you. And yet the shark thrives. We didn't engineer them. We didn't design them. We survived them. That's a difference none of you seem to grasp. You see, it's not just that they're dangerous. It's that we live with them anyway. Do you understand what kind of species chooses to swim where these things roam? Do you understand what kind of culture puts their children in the same waters? What kind of madness drives a species to voluntarily dive into the hunting grounds of a mindless killing machine? You think it's madness. It's not. It's adaptation. Because we had to. Because our world gave us no choice. Because in every direction, Earth demanded strength or death. So we studied what could kill us. We didn't just fear it. We learned it. We named it. We cataloged it. We built our homes near its domain. We watched it kill and survive and kill again. And when we understood enough to avoid death, we pushed further. We built cages to get closer. We filmed it from inches away. We studied its organs. Its hunting patterns. Its bite radius. We built machines to replicate its movement. We created tools to resist its power. And when that wasn't enough, we started swimming beside it. Not because we're suicidal. Because we needed to know, if we can survive this, we can survive anything. And that's why we brought the shark. Not to impress you. Not to frighten you. To remind you that the reason we reached the stars was because we came from a world where survival was never guaranteed. Because we looked at perfect, natural-born killers, and chose to meet them in their own element. We didn't hide from them. We adapted to them. We endured them. And when that wasn't enough, we studied them until they feared us. You coexist with monsters, one of them finally said, voice brittle with disbelief. But why would you live near such horrors? Why build cities beside them? Why not destroy them? The answer came without hesitation. Because we could learn more from surviving them than from erasing them. Another voice, sharper, mocking. You romanticize your own fear. No. We dissected it. The data stream expanded. Sharks tagged with tracking nodes, glowing trails stretched across oceans. Timetables of migration. Diet profiles. Behavior logs spanning decades. Detailed footage of feeding frenzies. Dissections. Jaw mechanics. Regeneration studies. We hunted them to understand them. Filmed them in mating rituals. Cataloged their young. We even bred them in captivity. Gasps followed. Containment of a creature like that, illogical. Dangerous. Pointless. We built tanks the size of buildings. Pushed filtered seawater through complex pressure systems just to replicate their natural environment. Not to weaponize them. To study them. To preserve them. And in some cases, to display them. A pause. Then the words dropped like lead. Some of us even keep them, as pets. The silence was total. A predator revered across galaxies, reduced by humans to biological exhibit and curiosity. Something they fed on schedules. Watched from behind glass. Taught their children to identify by fin shape. You revere nothing. One alien hissed. We revere what earns it. Fear alone isn't enough. But these things kill your kind. Yes. So do volcanoes. Lightning. Viruses. But we don't run from them either. But these are thinking hunters. They are not. That's the point. They don't need to think. And yet we still dove into their world. Disbelief turned to unease. Whispers spread. Speculations. Calculations. The realization wasn't just that sharks were terrifying. It was that humans weren't. Not scared enough. A Deathworlder delegate stood now. Towering, armored apex of a planet where gravity crushed lesser life. Their voice, a low rumble. On my world, the sky opens and bleeds acid. My kind wrestle flame lizards barehanded. And yet we avoid our oceans. You do not. The human didn't blink. We sail them. Fish them. Race on them. Some of us live on platforms miles offshore. Alone. With nothing but salt and current and the occasional fin slicing through the water below. Madness. No. Mastery. There was no arrogance in the voice. No pride. Just precision. You talk of predators like they define you, another alien said. They do, came the reply. Not because they dominate us. Because we shaped ourselves around them. The feed shifted again. Historical images. Ancient humans carving shark shapes into stone. Tribal dances. Totems. Maritime gods with teeth like the deep. Cultures that respected the sea not because it was kind, but because it never pretended to be. We saw what kills without remorse, and instead of hiding, we faced it. Not because we're fearless, but because we needed to know if we could stand in its presence and still choose to step forward. An alien scholar clicked uneasily. And what did you gain from this death worship? Everything. How? We learn not just how to survive. We learn how to observe survival. What traits endure. What instincts matter. What behaviors predict violence. It taught us more than biology. It taught us patience. Precision. Restraint. The Deathworlder leaned forward now. And when it failed to fear you? We made it. The memory stream surged again. Shark-deterrent technologies. Sonic pulses. Electromagnetic barriers. Submarines mimicking apex predators. Whole fields of science dedicated not to defeating sharks, but deterring them long enough to pass unnoticed. You don't build that unless you plan to walk back into danger, over and over again. We've had divers punched. Surfers dragged. Sailors vanished. But still, we go back. Not because we expect to win, but because every time we survive, we sharpen the edge of what it means to be human. The chamber reeled under the quiet truth of it. One voice, soft but cutting, asked, "What kind of species trains against the very thing that kills it?" The answer wasn't dramatic. One that intends to outlast everything. Then came the pivot, almost subtle. You think we brought sharks because they're our worst? The room froze. We didn't. Eyes widened. We brought them because they're the baseline. The alien who'd mocked humanity earlier now leaned forward, voice hushed. There's worse? The human's response was calm. Of course. And you survived those too? The look that followed wasn't pride. It was challenge. We had no choice. The Deathworlder straightened fully now. I've heard enough, they said to the others. This isn't about predators anymore. It's about who survives among them. A soft nod from the human. You flaunt claws and venom. We flaunt something older. A record. Of surviving what was never meant to be survived. A final question came, desperate, quiet, spoken more to self than to audience. Why? The human paused only a breath. To prove we could. And once we did, we never stopped. One of the delegates broke the silence. You're not here to boast about a predator. You're here to deliver a message. The human didn't deny it. You wanted to measure apex predators. We wanted to show you what builds them. Your world? No. Us. The feed shifted again, not to Earth's oceans, but to space. Early shuttle launches. Primitive capsules. Engineers calculating trajectories by hand. The fragile arc of progress rising through fire, noise, and risk. Then blackness. Stars. The void. Footage of humans aboard space stations, walking on airless moons, building habitats in orbit. We weren't made for space. It kills us. No oxygen. No pressure. No warmth. Radiation that scrambles cells and memories. But we went anyway. And survived? No. We died. Over and over. But not all of us. And the ones who returned went back up. Again and again. Until space stopped killing us fast enough to matter. A hushed voice, full of dread. You swam with sharks and then built homes in vacuum. We didn't swim with sharks because we were brave. We swam with sharks because we refused to be told where we couldn't go. The feed now showed human engineers designing spacecraft next to aquariums. Submersibles beside fighter jets. Icebreakers beside lunar rovers. Every environment that tried to kill us, ocean, volcano, desert, tundra, space, we didn't just endure. We built inside it. A diplomat murmured, "Is that why you study predators? To beat them?" No. To learn from them. They taught us how to operate without fear, without rest, without mercy. The shark doesn't adapt to the environment. It is the environment. We took that model and applied it to every challenge we met. A surge of unease swept the chamber. Are you saying you became predators? No. Worse. We became deliberate. And there it was. The thing none of the apex predator entrants had brought: intent. The will to transform every encounter with danger into a lesson, every loss into data, every kill into knowledge. You think of predators as accidents of biology. We turn them into textbooks. A pause. A breath. And then we moved on. To where? Everyone knew the answer. They looked at the stars. At the void between worlds. At the places still too hostile for colonization, too dangerous to tame. Humans were already there. You built tanks for sharks, one alien whispered. But you built cities for yourselves in places even your predators wouldn't follow. That's the difference, the human said quietly. Predators dominate. We outlast. A shiver went through one war species representative. So this was never about the shark. It was about the predator that could stand beside it and say, "We understand you. And we're not impressed." Exactly. The silence that followed wasn't fear. It was recognition. The alien empires had thought of humans as ambitious. Now they saw it differently. Not ambition. Relentless calibration. The kind of patience that turns wounds into armor. The kind of species that walks into hell, builds a house, and invites hell to knock twice next time. You trained yourself using predators as mirrors. No. We used them as warnings. And what happens? One delegate asked. When you meet something no one can survive? The human's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Then we teach ourselves to outlive it. The Deathworlder stepped forward, all posturing gone. Their voice lowered. And what happens when the predators become aware that you've surpassed them? Then they become footnotes. Data feeds ended. No more images. No more charts. Just one last sentence spoken slowly, like a verdict being carved into stone. We didn't come here to win your tournament. We came here to remind you that survival isn't a contest of teeth. It's a choice. And we've made ours. The chamber was still. They had seen horror. They had seen monstrosity. But they had never seen a species that normalized it. That used it as a tool. That studied it like art, and refined themselves through it like steel in a forge. They had watched predators today. But in the end, it wasn't the shark that terrified them most. It was the one who trained alongside it, bled beneath it, survived it, and then chose to leave it behind. Because if sharks were the test, humans were the answer.